I stand frozen in my doorway, keys dangling from trembling fingers. The apartment I left neat and orderly this morning now looks like it survived a hurricane. My furniture lies overturned, cushions slashed open. Every drawer hangs empty, contents scattered across the floor. The wall safe in my bedroom hangs open, the door wrenched nearly off its hinges. "No," I whisper, the word escaping like a prayer nobody's listening to. I step over a broken picture-framey wilderness class from last spring, their faces now hidden beneath cracked glass. My boots crunch over something small and metallic. My Medal of Honor, normally tucked away in my dresser drawer, lies bent and forgotten beneath my heel. The kitchen table remains eerily untouched amid the chaos, a white sheet of paper centered perfectly on its surface. I recognize the handwriting before I even read the words. "If you don't know how to share, someone else will." My phone buzzes in my pocket. Colby. His timing has always been impeccable. "Did you think about what we talked about?" The realization hits me like a physical blow, my stomach clenching so hard I double over. My brother. My own brother orchestrated this. The betrayal burns hotter than the fire that scarred my shoulder 3 years ago. I sink onto a kitchen chair, mind flashing back to last week's family dinner. Colby sitting across from me, his voice pitched low, reasonable. "Just $98,000 to clear my gambling debts, Bren," he'd said, his smile confident as always. "You have all that money just sitting there." I'd pushed my sleeve down, covering the scars that throbbed at the memory of how I'd earned that money. "I can give you $20,000, I replied carefully. "With conditions. 60-day rehab program. No further discussions about money after that." His face had hardened for just a second before the charm slid back into place. Now I know what that look meant. The phone buzzes again. Not Colby this time. A reminder about a fundraising gala last month where everything started to unravel. I'd only attended as the event photographer, content to remain invisible behind my camera. Then, Dr. Everett Shaw had spotted me across the crowded ballroom, the man I'd pulled from a burning cabin in 2016, half conscious and bleeding. "She saved my life and disappeared," he'd announced to the crowd, voice carrying through the microphone. "But tonight I want her seen." Every head had turned. Phones came out. Suddenly, I wasn't invisible anymore. 3 days later, my parents called for the first time in 8 months. The memory of their orchestrated dinner makes my jaw clench, the "Our Hero" banner hanging crooked over their dining room table. Mother's practiced speech about how they'd always been proud, while Dad snapped photos of my scars like exhibits in a museum. "Colby's just going through a temporary setback," Dad had mentioned casually, between bites of overcooked pot roast. 98,000 would clear everything up. The exact amount. The calculated way they'd said it. As if my suffering came with a price tag they could cash in. 3 surgeries. 14 months of rehabilitation. The constant pain that still wakes me on cold mornings. My shoulder and wrist are marked forever by flames that nearly took my life while saving others. I run my fingers over the dresser drawer that once held my Medal of Honor, gathering dust while I built a quiet life teaching survival skills to rural teens in Asheville. Far from Wyoming. Far from the fire. Far from the family that never visited me in the hospital. "This is compensation for my pain," I'd told them at dinner, voice steadier than I felt. "Not a family ATM." The shock on their faces when I offered conditions instead of cash. Mother's tight smile. "Family shouldn't come with conditions, Brenna." My newfound voice surprised even me. Neither should love. Now, back in reality, I look around my violated apartment, reality setting in. My brother, the golden boy, medical resident in Seattle, the pride of the family. The son they introduced at parties while I was our daughter who teaches summer camp stuff. The brother who just stole my $275,000 civil recovery grant. My phone chimes with an Instagram notification. I tap it open, and there's Colby's face, drink in hand, Atlantic City lights flashing behind him. Posted 19 minutes ago. I sink to my knees amid the destruction, fingers already dialing 911. "This is Brenna Kinley. I need to report a theft." My voice sounds distant to my own ears. I know exactly who did this. The Instagram notification glows accusingly on my screen. Colby smiling, celebrating. "This isn't about money," I whisper as the dispatcher asks me to hold. "It's about control." Next day, I scroll through Colby's Instagram, each swipe of my thumb like striking flint. The timestamp on his Atlantic City post hits me like a body blow after I handed him my conditional $20,000 check. In the photo, He's grinning beneath neon casino lights, drink raised high, designer watch glinting on his wrist. The same wrist that signed my rehab program agreement yesterday morning. Officer Miller shifts in my kitchen chair, his pen hovering over his notepad. His salt and pepper mustache twitches as he studies the overturned furniture, then returns to my face with naked skepticism. So, you're saying your brother, a medical resident, broke into your apartment and stole your money? His emphasis on medical resident carries all the weight of disbelief. Yes. I turn my phone screen toward him, while posting about his gambling spree in Atlantic City. Officer Miller's lips press into a thin line. Family disputes aren't usually... My phone buzzes with a notification. A link from Mrs. Winters next door. My stomach drops as I tap it open. A Reddit post. Title: My firefighter sister hoards $275K while our family struggles. The words blur as I scan the post claims about my vindictiveness, my mental instability after the fire, how I've abandoned family responsibilities while sitting on money I didn't earn. The post includes personal details only my family would know. This was posted 6 hours ago, I whisper. Officer Miller glances at it, uncomfortable. Miss Kinley, with all due respect. My phone rings. Mom. Brenna, there's been a misunderstanding about Colby borrowing some money. Her voice carries that familiar saccharine tone reserved for public performances. We need to discuss this as a family before you do anything hasty. I end the call without speaking and open my email. 3 new messages from a local blog asking for comment on the family financial dispute gone viral, 1 from my boss forwarding concerned parent emails, and 1 from Colby. I play Colby's voicemail on speaker for Officer Miller. Bren, someone hacked my accounts while I was in rehab. His voice breaks with practiced precision. I don't know anything about your money. Please call me back, I'm worried about you. The transparent lie hangs in the air between us. Rehab, I repeat flatly, while posting from a casino. My phone pings again with a Facebook notification. Parents have posted a carefully worded statement about supporting both our children during this difficult time. The comments flood with sympathy for them, questions about my stability. Officer Miller closes his notebook. Look, without solid proof. A knock at my door startles us both. When I open it, Dr. Everett Shaw stands there, his lean frame silhouetted against the hallway light. The scar along his jaw from the fire where I pulled him out catches the light as he speaks. I know what it's like when no one believes you. Behind him stands Mrs. Winters, my elderly neighbor, clutching her cardigan closed. I saw a man who looked like you letting someone into your apartment yesterday, she says, her voice quavering. I thought it was your brother visiting. He had a key. Officer Miller's posture changes subtly. My phone chimes with a text from Captain Reeves, my former supervisor. We remember what you did, even if they don't. The next hours blur into motion security camera footage requests, a building manager appearing with an apologetic eviction notice. Too much drama for the other tenants. Half my wilderness class enrollment cancellations appearing in my email. The parents are concerned, my boss writes. That Reddit post is everywhere. By evening, Mrs. Winters brings over footage from her doorbell camera, Colby clear as day, with someone I don't recognize. Officer Miller's expression hardens as he watches. This changes things, he says. Dr. Shaw Everett stands beside me. My guest room is yours until you find something new. I stare at the police report form, pen hovering over the line for the suspect's name. My own brother. My hand trembles, not from the old burn pain, but from something deeper. While packing clothes into cardboard boxes, my fingers brush something hard under the overturned couch. My charred helmet, wrenched from its storage place. I trace the melted edge where flames nearly took my life while I carried Everett's unconscious body to safety. The memory flashes Hothus weight across my shoulders, the roar of collapsing timbers, the searing pain as my skin bubbled beneath my turnout gear. They can take my money, I whisper, but they can't take what I survived. For the first time, I see the pattern that's defined my life, my silence enabling their abuse. I reach for my laptop and search for the State Medal of Honor Committee contact information. The reply comes almost instantly. Miss Kinley, we've already been in contact with your brother Colby regarding management of your affairs. I lie awake that night in Everett's guest room, not from pain or nightmares, but from something unfamiliar burning in my chest. Determination. They arrive at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon. I spot them through Dr. Shaw's bay window as their Lincoln pulls into the circular driveway, tires crunching over the gravel like bones breaking. Mother sits rod straight in the passenger seat, her caramel-colored hair pulled into the same tidy bun she's worn since I was 8. Dad hunches over the steering wheel, his shoulders a familiar curve of disappointment. "They found you," Dr. Shaw says, appearing beside me with 2 mugs of coffee. His voice carries no judgment, just quiet concern. "They always do." I accept the coffee, warmth seeping through ceramic into my palms. "When they want something." Mother's heels click against the flagstone path. She wears her church clothes scream skirt suit, pearl earrings, wedding band polished to a high shine. The outfit she reserves for important occasions and emotional manipulation. Dad hangs back, jingling car keys in his pocket, eyes darting between Shaw's elegant Tudor home and the neighborhood beyond, calculating property values. I open the door before they knock. Mother's face crumples into practiced sorrow. "Oh, Brenna." She reaches for me, manicured nails flashing. "How could you abandon a family in crisis?" I step back, avoiding her embrace. "You mean how could I report a crime? The crime where my brother stole $250,000 from me?" Her eyes flood with tears that don't quite fall. Perfect droplets suspended at the edge, waiting for maximum impact. "Your brother has a disease," Dad says, moving forward. His voice carries the same authoritative tone he used when explaining why they couldn't attend my academy graduation. "Addiction isn't a choice. Breaking into my apartment was." Shaw appears beside me, offering his hand. "Dr. Everett Shaw. We haven't formally met." Mother ignores his hand, scanning him head to toe. "We know who you are. The man who dragged our daughter back into the spotlight. The man who recognized her heroism." Shaw counters, voice level. Dad steps onto the threshold without invitation. "Maybe we should discuss this in private. Family business." Dr. Shaw stays. I say, the words coming out stronger than I expect. Dad's mouth tightens into a straight line. "You know, there's been talk about reopening the investigation into what happened during that cabin fire." My stomach drops, the old threat thinly veiled. "Talk from whom?" Shaw asks, steel beneath his polite tone. "People have questions about response times. Procedures followed." Dad's eyes fix on mine. 2 firefighters died that day. The burn scars across my shoulder blade throb with phantom pain. Capaldi and Reyes. Their names tattooed on my heart long before I got them inked on my skin. "I lived with those men," I say quietly. "I don't need reminders of what we lost." "Then perhaps you should remember what family means before this goes any further." Mother finally allows a tear to fall, tracking a perfect line down her cheek. "Before careers are ruined." The doorbell rings, saving me from whatever I might have said next. Shaw excuses himself, returning moments later with a courier package. He hands it to me with a puzzled expression. No return address, just my name in block letters. Inside, a thick manila folder filled with medical records, my medical records. Treatment plans, surgical reports, medication lists from the 14 months after the fire. Red marker highlights specific entries. Experimental skin grafting procedures, off-label pain medications, extended rehabilitation timeline. Each highlighted item is accompanied by a single question mark in the margin. "What's that?" Mother asks, curiosity overriding her performance. I snap the folder shut. "Nothing." Her eyes narrow slightly, recognizing my lie. She taught me this skill, after all hiding uncomfortable truths behind blank expressions. "We're only here because we care," she says, smoothing invisible wrinkles from her skirt. "You've always been sensitive, especially after the fire. We worry about your judgment." "My judgment was fine when you wanted my money." "It was never about the money," Dad insists, though his eyes flick toward the folder in my hands. I laugh, the sound harsh even to my own ears. "It's only ever been about the money." Something shifts in me, watching them stand in Shaw's pristine entryway. For the first time, I see not my parents but 2 strangers wearing familiar faces. People who have calculated exactly how much my pain is worth to them. "I think you should leave." The words emerge calm, almost gentle. "Brenna Elizabeth." Mother begins, her tone sharpening. Now, no longer a suggestion. Dad's face darkens. "This isn't over." "No, I agree. It's just beginning." After they leave, Shaw makes fresh coffee. We sit in silence at his kitchen island, the medical records spread between us. Someone went to considerable effort to get these, he says, examining the highlighting pattern. The questioned items, they're all treatments covered by your settlement, procedures that justified the compensation amount. My fingers trace the red marks. They're trying to invalidate my claim, make it look like I exaggerated injuries for money. Shaw's phone chimes with a message. He reads it, then looks up. I have friends at Memorial Hospital. Their legal team has offered to help, pro bono. I stare at him, incredulous. Why would they do that? Because 9 of their staff members are alive today because of you. He slides his phone toward me, showing an email thread, including their chief of neurosurgery. Something blooms in my chest, unfamiliar and warm. I push it aside, focusing instead on action. I need to request my personnel files from Wyoming. I drum my fingers against the counter. Everything they have: incident reports, commendations, performance reviews. For the lawsuit? For the truth. I open my laptop, searching for the Carson Ridge Fire Department contact information. I've spent 3 years hiding what happened that day. Maybe it's time people remembered. Shaw watches me, his expression thoughtful. You know your family won't stop. I know. My fingers hover over the keyboard. But neither will I. The next morning, I sat in a coffee shop downtown, waiting. The table between us holds 3 items. A stack of witness statements from the cabin fire, my Medal of Honor in its velvet case, and a single white envelope. Across from me, Colby fidgets with his watch, a Rolex I'd never noticed before. Mother's perfect posture doesn't hide the nervous tap of her foot against the floor. Father scans the busy cafe, uncomfortable with potential witnesses. Thank you for agreeing to meet, Colby begins, his voice rehearsed. I want to apologize. The gambling addiction, it made me do things I'd never normally do. I say nothing, just watch him. The brother I once adored now was a stranger wearing an expensive suit and practiced remorse. We need to keep family matters private, Dad interjects, leaning forward. These charges, they could destroy everything Colby has worked for. His medical career, Mother adds, as if I might have forgotten the golden future they've reminisced about at every family gathering. His stolen medical career, I correct. I open the envelope, sliding a document across the table. Because according to Seattle Grace Hospital, Dr. Colby Kinley never completed his residency program. Color drains from Colby's face. Mother's hand freezes midway to her water glass. That's a mistake, Colby stammers. Is it? Because the hospital has no record of you working shifts for the past 8 months. Yet somehow you're still drawing a salary. Dad's face hardens. What have you done? I place my Medal of Honor on the table, its weight making a soft thud against the wood. This is who I've always been, while you looked away. My phone lights up with a message from Thomas Reeves, the private investigator Shaw hired yesterday. 3 simple words. Found the connection. I stand, gathering my files but leaving the medal on the table. You wanted my attention, I tell them quietly. Now you have it. 2 days later, I stand at the lectern, my press statement a single sheet of paper between my steady hands. Camera lights throw shadows across the room as journalists lean forward, digital recorders capturing every word. The statement took me 6 hours to craft with Dr. Shaw's legal team, measured, factual, devoid of the rage still burning through my veins. This case involves a broader financial crimes investigation. I say, voice clear and unwavering. What began as theft has revealed systematic fraud across multiple institutions. A reporter's hand shoots up. Miss Kinley, are you seeking revenge against your brother? The question hangs in the air. Behind me, Thomas Reeves shifts his weight, the private investigator's presence a silent reminder of how far we've come in 2 weeks. Justice and revenge aren't the same thing, I answer. One restores balance, the other just creates more victims. 3 hours later, I sit across from the hospital administrator, a silver-haired woman whose steady gaze reminds me of my former fire captain. She studies the documents spread between us, Colby's falsified credentials, forged recommendation letters, the timeline of financial irregularities. Dr. Kinley, your brother left yesterday, citing a family emergency, she says, removing her glasses. This explains why. He knew we were coming, I reply. My phone buzzes with a text from my mother. How could you do this to us? Colby was always there for you after the fire. You're not well, Brenna. I turn the phone face down without responding and hand the administrator another folder. These are statements from 3 other doctors whose identities he's used to obtain prescription medications. The administrator's face hardens. We'll cooperate fully with investigators. That evening, Thomas forwards me the family-wide email my father sent to aunts, uncles, cousins, people I haven't spoken to in years. Our daughter Brenna has manipulated her vulnerable patient, Dr. Shaw, into helping her target Colby. Her behavior since the fire has concerned us. Does this change anything? Thomas asks when I call him. I watch the sunset paint my temporary bedroom walls gold in Dr. Shaw's guest house. No, truth doesn't change because someone denies it. The following morning, my phone rings non-stop. Old family friends, distant relatives, even my high school track coach. I let each call go to voicemail while I sit beside Thomas, watching him upload documents to the state prosecutor's secure server. Medical Community Bulletin just went live, he says, turning his laptop to show me. Fraud alert. Regarding Dr. Colby Kinley, license number 4,876,231. The comment section already has 17 entries from other medical professionals' accounts of missing prescription pads, unexplained billing discrepancies, borrowed credentials. The fraud stretches back 3 years, long before he targeted my grant money. Your brother's been busy, Thomas mutters. That afternoon, Dr. Shaw Everett, as he now asks me to call him, forwards an email from the Wyoming Fire Department. They're releasing my complete service record, including witness statements from the cabin fire. The hospital where he works announces a scholarship in my name for burn survivors pursuing medical education. My phone lights up with another text from my mother. This one arrives at 2:17 a.m. I didn't know everything Colby did. I read it 5 times, searching for an apology that isn't there. When the bank notification arrives confirming Colby's accounts have been frozen pending investigation, I feel nothing, no satisfaction, no relief, just a hollow ache where family should be. 2 days later, I pull into my parents' driveway, using the spare key they never asked for back. The house sits empty while they attend my father's cardiology appointment. Stress-induced arrhythmia, according to the prayer chain email my aunt forwarded me. I climb the narrow stairs to the attic, stepping carefully across the plywood flooring. In the far corner, behind Christmas decorations and camping gear nobody uses, I find the unmarked cardboard box. Inside, my firefighter commendations, the newspaper clippings about the rescue, my uniform dress blues. Tucked beneath them all, a handwritten note in my mother's neat script. Brenna's fire things, dated 3 weeks after I entered rehabilitation. They didn't just ignore what happened to me, they deliberately packed it away where no one, including me, would ever see it. I close the box and leave it where I found it, carrying only the knowledge back down the stairs. On the confrontation day, I arrive at the courthouse an hour early, watching dawn break over the brutalist architecture. 3 months of preparation culminate today. My charcoal pantsuit hangs differently on my frame. I've lost 12 pounds since Colby emptied my safe. Not from grief, but from purpose. They're waiting by the courthouse steps exactly where Thomas Reeves predicted, mother dabbing at dry eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. Father prominently displaying his heart medication bottle, transferring it from pocket to hand whenever someone glances his way. Their choreographed concern might have worked 3 months ago. Brenna. Mother steps forward, arms outstretched for the hug she knows I won't give. We need to talk before this goes any further. I adjust my leather portfolio, grip tight against the urge to flinch when she reaches for my elbow. The prosecutor is waiting. Your brother made a terrible mistake. Father palms his medication bottle, but destroying his career won't fix anything. A family lawyer I've never met materializes from behind a concrete pillar. Miss Kinley, we're prepared to offer a settlement. His voice carries the casual confidence of someone accustomed to making problems disappear. Half the disputed amount returned immediately, the remainder in structured payments. The audacity burns hotter than the beam that scarred my shoulder. Half my money, as if theft came with a volume discount. The hearing starts in 40 minutes. I step around them, my voice steadier than my heartbeat. Your father's heart can't take this spectacle. Mother's voice shifts from saccharine to steel. I turn back just once. Then he shouldn't have taught his son that stealing from family was acceptable. Inside, the marble corridor echoes with my footsteps. State Prosecutor Rivera waits by the courtroom door, his silver hair cropped military short. They attempted contact? He doesn't look up from his notes. Settlement offer. Half now, half never. Rivera's mouth twitches. Bold, considering what landed on my desk last night. He slides a document across his portfolio. Anonymous call to Western Memorial Hospital questioning your stability. 3 calls to potential employers warning against hiring you. And my personal favorita filing for a restraining order claiming you've threatened Colby. My stomach clenches. When? Yesterday, at 4:17 p.m., Judge Matthews threw it out this morning. The signature didn't match his previous court documents. The courtroom doors open, flooding the hallway with hushed voices. I spot Everett instantly, his tall frame taking up 2 seats in the front row. Mrs. Winters beside him, her white hair luminous under fluorescent lights. My students filling the back row, their parents standing guard behind them. Someone whispers as I walk past. The whispers multiply, spreading like spot fires through dry brush. Colby isn't here. Where is he? I ask Rivera. That's the million-dollar question. His attorney claims car trouble. Judge Harmon enters, her silver-framed glasses catching the light. I understand we're missing the defendant. Colby's attorney stands. Your Honor, my client is. The courtroom doors slam open. Colby strides in, his tailored suit a mockery of contrition. 2 uniformed officers flank him, their expressions grim. Dr. Kinley was attempting to board a flight to Cancun. The taller officer addresses the judge directly. We executed the bench warrant at the terminal gate. Gasps ripple through the gallery. Mother's sob cuts through the murmurs. I don't turn around. Prosecution may present evidence, Judge Harmon says, her gaze never leaving Colby. Rivera moves with methodical precision, laying out bank records, transaction timestamps, and social media screenshots. Each exhibit builds upon the last, not just a brother stealing from his sister, but a calculated fraud spanning years. The state calls Brenna Kinley. The witness stand feels exposed after months of silence. I state my name, occupation, the address of the apartment I no longer live in. Miss Kinley, please describe your relationship with the defendant. I don't look at Colby. He's my younger brother by 4 years. We were raised in the same household in Laramie, Wyoming. And when did you last speak before the theft? The 15th of April. Family dinner at our parents' home. Colby requested $98,000 to cover gambling debts. I offered $20,000 with conditioned 60 days of rehabilitation and financial counseling. What happened to that $20,000? He spent it at Harrah's Atlantic City 19 hours after receiving it. Rivera displays the casino footage on screens visible to the jury and gallery. Colby at roulette tables, whiskey in hand, stacks of chips rising and falling before him. And the $275,000 taken from your apartment? That was my civil recovery grant after sustaining 3rd-degree burns during a wilderness rescue in 2016. My voice doesn't waver. 9 lives saved. 2 fellow firefighters lost. Someone in the gallery gasps. Rivera displays photos of my burns from hospital records. Then the Instagram posts Colby partying in Atlantic City hours after the theft. The metadata from the Reddit post traced to his hospital computer. The evidence mounts like dry timber around my brother. By the time Rivera rests his case, Colby's attorney looks physically ill. Judge Harmon calls for victim impact statements. I approach the podium, unfolding a single sheet of paper. Silence doesn't bring peace. I begin, my voice carrying to the back row. It just teaches others to ignore your pain. I'm done being quiet. I turn toward my parents in the gallery. You taught him he was entitled to whatever he wanted, regardless of who it hurt. You taught me my value came from what I could give, not who I was. Father reaches for his heart medication. Mother stares at her hands. I carried 9 strangers from a burning building. I rehabilitated through 3 surgeries, mostly alone. I built a life teaching others to survive. My fingers traced the edge of the podium. What my brother stole wasn't just money, it was my right to heal on my terms. I find Everett's eyes in the front row. Steady. Present. The fire that scarred me lasted 18 minutes. The damage from that day will last a lifetime, just like the damage from this betrayal. I fold my statement, tuck it into my pocket. I'm asking the court for full restitution, not out of vengeance, but because boundaries without consequences teach nothing. I return to my seat as Judge Harmon delivers her verdict. Guilty on all counts. The sentence falls like an axe restitution of the full amount plus penalties, medical license suspended for 3 years, mandatory rehabilitation. Miss Kinley saved 9 lives at great personal cost, Judge Harmon states, removing her glasses. You exploited her twice first, her silence, then her money. Colby crumples forward, shoulders shaking with sobs or rage. I can't tell the difference anymore. My parents sit frozen, their social currency evaporating as community members move toward me instead. Outside, reporters cluster on the courthouse steps, microphones extended like accusations. Was justice served today, Miss Kinley? I pause, sunlight warming my face for the first time in months. This was never about the money, it was about truth. Everett waits at the bottom of the steps, his quiet presence a sanctuary amid the chaos. Ready? I'm thinking about building something that matters, I tell him, turning away from the cameras. The truth burns cleaner than fire ever could. 1 year later, I stand straight backed at the podium, sunlight streaming through the windows of the community center we've transformed into headquarters for the Cinder Core Initiative. The ribbon stretches across the entrance to our new training facility like the flames that once consumed my life and now fuel my purpose. Today marks more than a building opening, I say into the microphone, my voice steady where it once would have trembled. It marks a promise fulfilled. My fingers brush the edge of my short-sleeved blouse, no longer hiding the rippled skin where fire claimed its territory years ago. The scars catch the light, telling their story so I don't have to. 1 year since the courtroom where the truth finally won. 1 year since I stopped hiding. 70 faces look back at me, students, instructors, community members who stood by me when standing alone seemed my only option. Everett sits front row, the small smile on his face worth more than any grant money could buy. The man I pulled from flames now pulls me forward on days when memories burn too bright. With the remaining funds from my recovery grant, we've established scholarships for 10 students annually who want to pursue emergency response careers. I gesture toward the wall where photographs of our first class hang proudly. Because preparation isn't just about survival, it's about building something worth protecting. Movement at the back catches my eye. A figure slips through the door, hesitating in the shadows. My mother. My words falter for half a heartbeat before muscle memory takes over. Years of teaching kicks in when in danger. Breathe first, then assess. I inhale slowly, letting oxygen feed clear thought rather than panic. She looks smaller somehow. Her crisp pantsuit hangs slightly loose, her shoulder-length hair more gray than I remember. Our eyes meet across the crowded room, and something unspoken passes between us, not forgiveness, exactly, but recognition. I continue my speech, explaining our community outreach programs, but make a decision with each carefully chosen word. When I finish, applause fills the room, and I step down from the podium. Mrs. Winters, I say, embracing my former neighbor who proudly displays her disaster preparedness certificate, thank you for coming. The elderly woman squeezes my hand. Never thought I'd be learning how to evacuate at 73, but here we are. Laughter bubbles up, genuine and warm. You mastered fire extinguisher techniques faster than my college students. Across the room, Jenny Morgan approaches with her teenage daughter. Once, she brought cookies and tearful apologies for believing the Reddit lies about me. Now she coordinates our parent volunteer program. The Wyoming contingent is looking for you, Jenny says, nodding toward a cluster of firefighters in dress uniforms who've traveled cross-country for today. I excuse myself, making my way through well-wishers, noticing my mother hasn't moved from her spot by the door. Not center stage, but witnessing. I nod slightly in her direction in invitation, not an embrace. She steps forward, just one careful step into the light. On my desk back home sits a letter from Colby, postmarked from the rehabilitation center where he's serving his sentence. I haven't burned it, haven't read it either. The power lies in choosing my timeline, not his. Beside it stands the framed first dollar donation to the foundation from Mrs. Winters, who believed me when others wouldn't. Later, a young woman named Sierra finds me near the refreshment table. Miss Kinley? My brother took everything when our parents died last year, said I wasn't responsible enough for my share. I recognize the hollow look in her eyes, the careful way she holds herself as if afraid to take up space. The hardest fire to survive, I tell her quietly, is the one burning your own foundations. Her eyes widen in recognition. My next workshop is called Boundaries as Safety Equipment, I say. First rule of rescue: secure yourself before attempting to save others. As the celebration winds down, I join my last wilderness class for their demonstration. A small girl with braided hair tugs on my sleeve. Miss Brenna, are you still scared of fire? She points to the scars on my arm, her innocent curiosity free from pity. I kneel to meet her eyes, considering the question with the weight it deserves. Behind her, Everett watches, his presence a constant reassurance. I feel his hand find mine as I answer. Everyone is, I say softly. But if you understand what it burns, you'll know what to protect.